Welcome to the introduction of the Dovecot certificate interface, an open source software I released, which is here to handle per domain Dovecot SSL certificates. So if you have an email server running with Dovecot, you can use this software to provide per domain valid SSL certificates. And initially, the software has been created together with ISP-config. So to work together with ISP-config. So ISP-config itself, I don't know if you know the software, but it's it's a web server administrator software where you can manage customers, you can manage web hosting accounts and inboxes for emails. And ISP-config itself does not come, for example, with a functionality to control per domain Dovecot certificates, so that the customers can log in with valid certificates in their own domain for email retrieval and sending. So at the start, this tool has been programmed to run side by side with ISP-config to control this kind of certificates on emails and to make it possible for customers to use their own domain for email retrieval and sending operations. So with the time, this has become a standalone tool, so you can use it without ISP-config or something like that. It can act as a standalone tool to control Dovecot per domain certificates. But it's recommended to run another software side by side which lets you control inboxes and stuff like that. But you should never install that or use that software here on a server which does already have another thing installed which does handle per domain certificates. So if you have another software on your server which handles per domain certificates, do not install the software. Like Plesk. Plesk is a software. The Plesk web administrator software is a software which does handle per domain certificates for itself. And virtualmint, for example, if you know this is also a web hosting tool which handles per domain certificates for itself. So do not use this Dovecot certificate interface for this kind of servers. But if you have a server, for example, with ISP-config or other software, or even if you are using Shell to control your email inboxes, then you can use this software to control per domain certificates. It will give you an interface where you can control everything. You can see domains, you can create users, and you can basically connect it to ISP-config. If you use ISP-config, this is optional. You can connect it, that it will fetch domains automatically out of ISP-config into the system. This is meant to be that you can run the software in the background together with ISP-config, but automized, so that you have never the need to log into the software or something like that. If you use ISP-config, you can create customers like usual, and the software, if set up in settings.php, I will come to this later, the software will then fetch domains out of ISP-config and provide valid SSL certificates for that kind of domains. It will use the same certificates ISP-config will use for that domains. So you can use custom domains certificates, and you can use automatically Let's Encrypt created certificates. But yeah, that's so far enough about ISP-config. As I said, this tool can be run standalone to control this kind of certificates. And so like I mentioned, you have the possibility to create users. So you can create users in this interface which are able to log in and see the domains which have been created for Dovecot. This is global, so there is no per user domain management. This is a global domain management here. Every user which is able to log in the system will be able to see all domains which are registered and work with them if they have permissions. So we have domain validity checks here. That means if you have a domain registered in the system here with a fitting SSL key and SSL certificate, this software will check for the correctness of this certificate. It will check if the certificate is okay and can be used in Dovecot. And if this is the case, this domain and this certificate will be written to the Dovecot config. And if not, it will be marked as a failure domain. And you can see failure domains inside the panel. You can, as I said, connect the software with ISP-config, and you have a blacklisting functionality for login failures on this web interface. So after an amount of time, I think after 1,000 failed tries, users let me say, IP address areas will get blocked, and you will have the functionality to deblock them in the panel or via cron job in a period of time. Requirements are a Linux server, which is connected to the internet, of course. A domain or subdomain pointed to the server is recommended for incoming email. And you need Apache 2, PHP 8, and MySQL installed on the server to use the web interface. As the server is working together with Dovecot, you need Dovecot installed on the server. If you are working together with ISP-config or other software which is already handling email inboxes and stuff, then you should have this already installed. And yeah, so if you have this software installed in the requirements here, you are able to use the software and yeah, manage client certificates, domain certificates for email with that software. And like I said before, do not use the software on a server which is already running a software controlling per domain certificates, as this will result in conflicts. So again, if you already have Plesk or Virtualmin running, or something else which is controlling your per domain Dovecot certificates, it is not recommended to use this software because it will result in a conflict. Yeah. If you want to set the software up, all you need to do is to download the repository. The link you can find in the description of this video. And you need to upload all files out of the repository source directory into your webspace root folder. After that, you will have a file in your webspace root folder which is called settings.sample.php. And inside that file, you need to change some settings related to your MySQL login data and to the process of fetching domains from ISP-config, or general some settings. You can find information about the different settings in the software's documentation or at the file itself. In the file, you will see a description about everything you can set up, and you will have a default configuration which you can use in the most cases without the need to change them. But you need, every time you install the software, you need to change the MySQL data that the software can connect to your MySQL server. And after you have the software installed, you are able to see the web interface at the domain which is related to your webspace root folder. And you can log in with the initial created user admin and password change me. It's recommended to change this password after you have logged in successfully the first time, for security reasons, of course. Another thing you need to do to set the software up is to change a line in the Dovecot configuration file. Informations about that again in the documentation of that software, and in the next video I will make another video for the software, which is a little bit where you have more insight about the web interface itself, and where you can see a little bit more about the installation procedure. And this is not meant to be an installation instruction video here. So if you need information about the installation, please take a look at the documentary of the software, which link you can find in the description, or at the other video related to this project, which is in the description as well. This software comes with two cron jobs. One cron job is, they are in the cron job folder of the repository. The first cron job is daily.php. This is only here to reset the login failure IP blacklist counter. So this cron job can reset the blacklist counter. If you need this cron job, you can set it up. If not, this is optional, then just leave it. We have a sync.php cron job, and this cron job generally makes all the background work and stuff. So this cron job is mandatory, and it will set up our Dovecot configuration file for the software, and it will apply all the new settings from the web interface and fetch domains from ISP-config. So on a system which is not running with ISP-config, where you have not set up a connection between ISP-config and the software, it's recommended to run this sync.php every hour. But on a system which is connected with ISP-config, I would recommend you to run this every 10 minutes. And yeah, so far that's all about the cron jobs. If you need any help for the software, you can visit the documentation area. It's www.bugfish-github.de. This is the documentation page for all my softwares, but you can find, there is a list of my software, and you can find the software, which is called Dovecot certificate interface, inside that list and see the documentation of it. If this does not help you, you can always join my forum at forum.bugfish.eu and ask your questions there. If I have the possibility, I will answer to you. or you can write in the video's comment section here as well if you have any problems. This project is created and maintained by me, and is provided with MIT license, which means you can use it commercial and yeah, privately. Yeah, that's it so far. That was the introduction for the software, and if you want to use the software, I recommend to watch my other video related to the software. Link is at the top of the description. There you will get a little bit more insight about the interface and yeah, a bit about the installation. And yeah, that's it. Have a great one.